They convicted Ray Krone of murder in 1992. The jury took 7 hours. He got death. Then, a decade later, a lab technician cracked open a sealed evidence envelope nobody had touched since the trial, a swab of saliva lifted off a dead woman's tank top. So why did that swab sit untested for 10 years in a case built entirely on teeth marks? Here's the story they told the jury. December 29, 1991. Kim Ancona, a bartender at the CBS Lounge in Phoenix, was found stabbed to death after closing. No forced entry. Krone was a regular, a Sunday softball buddy of Ancona's, and he'd offered to help her lock up that night. Police had no fingerprints, no eyewitness, no confession. What they had was a bite mark on the victim's breast and neck. A forensic odontologist matched it to Krone's crooked front teeth. Prosecutors gave him a name for the courtroom and the headlines, the Snaggletooth Killer. The jury believed the teeth. That was the whole case. The first crack came from something almost too simple to matter, a styrofoam cup. During the investigation, Krone had bitten into a cup at the police station at officers' request so his teeth could be photographed and cast. That impression became the state's centerpiece. Jurors watched a video of the dentist overlaying Krone's bite mold directly onto photographs of the wound, narrating the match line by line, tooth by tooth. No peer review, no blind comparison, just one expert, one opinion presented as science. The defense had its own odontologist who said the mark didn't match at all, but juries in 1992 didn't know that bite mark analysis had never been validated the way fingerprints or blood typing had. To them, it looked like proof. That's the contradiction the trial record can't survive. Bite mark comparison, matching the shape of a wound to the shape of a specific set of teeth, has since been shown repeatedly to be unreliable. Skin stretches, wounds distort after death. 2 different forensic dentists looking at the same mark have identified 2 different suspects in the same case. At Krone's 1992 trial, none of that got said out loud. The state called its expert with full confidence, dressed the testimony up as settled science, and the jury never heard the caveat that would come to define the entire field a decade later. Bite mark identification, as practiced in that courtroom, was closer to a guess with credentials than a measurement. So why didn't this surface sooner? Because the swab that could have settled everything was never run through the technology that would eventually clear him. DNA testing existed in 1992, but the methods sensitive enough to profile the trace saliva on Ancona's shirt didn't. So the swab went into evidence, got logged, got sealed, and sat. Krone's first conviction was overturned on a technicality in 1996, but at his retrial, the same bite mark testimony put him back behind bars, this time with a life sentence instead of death. The untested envelope followed the case files into storage. Nobody was required to open it. No statute forced a second look. It simply waited for years while a man exhausted appeals nobody outside his family was reading closely. The deeper reveal didn't come until 2002, when Krone's attorneys finally got a court order for retesting, using DNA technology sensitive enough to isolate a single contributor's profile from that decade-old swab. The result excluded Krone completely, but the second detail is the one that makes coincidence impossible. That DNA profile wasn't just a non-match. It hit a name already in the system. Kenneth Phillips, a convicted sex offender, was serving time in a nearby facility for an unrelated assault on a child, close enough to the CBS Lounge that he'd once lived within walking distance of it. His DNA was already on file. It had been sitting in a database the whole time, one query away from the swab that had been sitting in an envelope the whole time. 2 sealed containers, 2 miles apart, neither one opened until a defense team forced the question. Krone walked out in April 2002, the 100th death row exoneration in the country, and the first proven wrong by DNA after being convicted on bite mark evidence. He'd served over a decade, 3 years of it on death row, for a mark on a body that turned out to belong to someone else's mouth entirely. The odontologist who testified never faced discipline. The technique he used is still, in some states, admissible in court today. So the real question isn't whether Ray Krone did it. That was settled in a lab in 2002. The question is how many other envelopes are still sealed. How many convictions right now are resting on a bite mark, a dental cast, an expert's confident overlay, waiting for someone to ask why nobody ever opened the drawer.